Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teja Tangeda. I'm the Principal Data Engineer within Data Engineering Analytics Group within American Airlines.
Hey, hi. This is Madan Venkatesan, Senior Data Engineer from American Airlines. So I guess everyone would have taken a flight to reach this conference. So we wanted to ask one quick question. How many of you have seen loading the flight with the cargo? Like, have you ever seen wheelchairs being loaded? Thank you. So what we're going to focus here in this session is going to be focusing on the second part, where the wheelchairs part. We all know that we focus primarily on our baggages, where there is a set of people where they are very vulnerable, who are depending on us to transfer or bring their own devices to the point B section where they can do more room freely there. So that's why we're going to focus here in this session. I will start with a comment here. So one should never find themselves waiting forever, get their wheelchairs back and find out it's damaged. Yes, this is a comment from a passenger. So it can be for one passenger, it can associate with many passengers too. So what we are focusing here is to see if we move in their shoes and see what's going to happen there. So we can roam freely, for we can wait or we can do whatever we want, but they are depending on us to move from one place to other for them. So that's going to be like very, very long time for them. Just want to give a quick background on stats. So based off DOT and then BTS, there are like 25.5 million American adults are disabled who are trying to move from their home to a different destination. And the group comprises of like 1.7 million who uses wheelchairs and scooters to move freely. There is a quick breakdown on the by year. So 2019, we moved close to like 600K wheelchairs and scooters, and then 2020, all we know that it's pandemic, so it gone down drastically. And then 2021, we are picking up back, it's like 532K. And this is a different perspective of the same data. For 2021, it's broken down by individual airlines. So we made a commitment. So we made a commitment to the accessibility community to make sure that, okay, we are gonna help them out to travel of ease, no issues, or like there's no problem in their travel. Make sure they are reaching on time. Not only them, we are making sure that devices also reaches on time, and then more importantly, without any damages. So that is a commitment we have made. And then in order to fulfill that commitment, we have followed a couple of strategies. So these are the highlighted ones which we are going to focus. So wheelchair transfer improvements. So what we are going to do is that we are focusing more on how to make sure those wheelchairs are transferred from destination A to destination B without any damages. That's something we are focusing on. And then as part of that, training improvements are also taken care. So training is for the frontline customers or frontline employees to make sure that they're given proper education on the wheelchairs, not just wheelchair, any disabled devices, to make sure they are handled properly and being transported in an efficient way. And the last piece is the investment. So the investment is primarily to aid on the study for making sure the devices are well built in such a way that they can help them transfer in a timely, and then make sure that it is transferred in a proper fashion too. Okay, challenges here. So what we are primarily focusing as challenges here. So there are like different type of wheelchairs. So wheelchairs is like there are different types. One can be manually operated. One can be like power-based automation, power-based systems. So manually wheelchairs can weigh from close to 10 to 15 lbs, and then the automated or like powered ones weigh from like 100 lbs to close to 500 lbs. The more the heavier, the prices are going to be higher. There are different type of batteries involved in it. It can be wet cell, dry cell, and lithium-ion batteries. There are different type of batteries. So each of them needs to be handled in a different way. So there will be other precious cargo, like pets would be traveling along in the same belly. So we have to make sure that the batteries are placed in the right place, not affecting any other cargos inside the belly. So that's one thing. And then not just that, the way how the wheelchair, the designs of the wheelchair is also different. It can be collapsible, non-collapsible. It has to sit up straight. Something can be like lie down. So there are different type of wheelchairs are also available. The more important thing is like approximately 900 wheelchairs or scooters are being damaged every month by US airlines. It's not just one airline, it's a combination of all the US carriers. So the number one reason for the damage is physical handling or no proper aids. So that's the primary reason why we are damaging all those wheelchairs. So in this picture, we have just thrown in two pictures here. Like if you see, these wheelchairs are physically handled by the employees there. They are like three to four members who are carrying them, lifting them, putting on the loading dock, and then that's going to be loaded by the regular baggage loader. So this is not the right way of doing things, but it's been done so far. Like in the past, this is how the wheelchairs are being loaded. So the problem with this is like they might damage the wheelchairs, not just to the wheelchairs, they might hurt themselves also. So we are liable for both the employees as well as the devices, what they're handling as well. So talking about that, so how are we communicating? How did we communicate so far to the frontline employees? So there's an email which goes out to them saying that, hey, there is a wheelchair coming in which is like weighing 400 lbs, and then make sure you have the right way to lift them and then put them in the belly. So that's something based out of an email communication happens. So on these email communications are based out of the data what we have in the last 24 hours. There is nothing real time happening so far. Like in the past, that's how it usually works. So the problem with this is the wheelchairs which are surprisingly being checked in by the passengers during the check-in process does not show up here. So that's where the trouble starts, where they could not address what needs to be used to transport them in the right fashion. With that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Teja.
So the solution that we're trying to achieve is to make sure we have the right equipment at the right time and right place. How are we achieving this, and what's our design philosophy in order to achieve this? Now here's the approach we have taken. So just a bit of a background, right? So anytime you make a reservation, it could be through a particular airline website or it could be through any online agency. So the moment you make a reservation, it actually goes to GDS system or passenger service system, and they manage all our reservations. So in our case, it is Sabre. So anytime you go and make a reservation or you update your reservation, Sabre creates an XML message for us and then pushes that over to us in real time. Now this XML message, the way it was designed and laid out, it's probably a decade and a half old. So it's pretty antiquated, meaning that it's not properly structured for today's data engineering or data analytics or even operational use cases. Now what we have done is, the XML message that comes in, we've decided that we want to make sure it is in a manner where it is easily read by our downline consumers. So we are converting all the XML messages to JSON payload in real time, and that converted JSON payload is then pushed into our event hub topic. Now on top of this event hub topic, that's where Databricks comes into picture. Databricks reads the messages in real time, and then it pushes it to our bronze as well as silver layer. Now, when it comes to gold layer, we have in additional transformations and additional enrichments that we do using data that's streaming in real time as well as in batch mode. Now, the problem with this XML layout is that everything is highly nested. Now, if I need to go and just get one particular attribute for a particular customer or a wheelchair, I need to probably go 7 or 8 levels deep. And that's just for one attribute. Now I have to do that for multiple attributes. And then I need to make sure I go to a different location and gather additional information for that particular wheelchair. It just becomes a cumbersome process which, depending on the layout, it could have been much more simpler solution. So now what we have done is, we have taken all of these messages, we have gone to the particular location, we have parsed out everything, we have exported the data, and we are using regular expression in order to parse free-form text. Everything, any characteristics that are there for that particular wheelchair, everything is in free-form text. So whether that's the make of the wheelchair, the device type, the device ID, or the dimensions, how many pounds it is, every single attribute is in a free-form text. So we parse out everything. Now the challenge here is that you can have multiple wheelchairs and multiple passengers on a booking, meaning that you need to ensure that the right wheelchair has the right characteristics, so that way you don't mess up things. So we have to make sure every single characteristic is associated to the right wheelchair, and that wheelchair is then associated to right passenger if there are multiple passengers on that particular wheelchair. Now, on a day, within a 24-hour period, we get anywhere between 10 to 11 million messages. We have to parse through and stream all of these messages. We have to make sure the latency is as low as possible, probably anywhere between 5 to 10 seconds. And there are instances where we have flood events, and that time it could probably be around 15 minutes, but we try to make sure we are within the 5-minute delay range. Now, when it comes to Databricks, when we started this particular effort, we had two choices. One is DLT, the other one is Spark Structured Streaming. We tried to first go with the DLT approach, and then we did POC with that. And the more time we spent with DLT, there were a couple of things that stood out to us. Number one is trying to customize the output to our own needs, rather than DLT dictating what it's going to give it to you. Rather, we wanted a specific format, we wanted a specific layout, and we wanted the table to be structured in a specific way, including the column ordering and everything. And we felt that, we didn't have that control. And again, this is back almost a year ago when we started POC. Things could have changed now. The second big impact that made our decision is there are instances where we always have to go back and then update or restate just 1 day's worth of information, or 1 week or 1 month. Now with DLT, we found that much more challenging, whereas with Spark Structured Streaming, we could just stop the stream, we could fix that particular partition that was impacted, or restate that particular partition and then restart everything back. So that way we're not having to go back and redo everything. And third, obviously, is a cost thing. And fourth, with our architecture, we have two different things. One is our Delta layer, which is a gold layer Delta, and the second one is our Teradata ecosystem. Now, if we had gone through our DLT process, meaning we would have had to have a separate pipeline to sync data from our gold layer into our Teradata ecosystem, which means that depending on any issues, you could probably have different answers coming from our ADLS versus Teradata ecosystem, and we didn't want that. At any given point of time, we wanted the same response for an analyst, whether they're querying Delta or whether they're querying our Teradata ecosystem. So with that in mind, we decided to go with Spark Structured Streaming, and we used for each operation to process the data and then push that over together, both to Delta Lake as well as to our Teradata ecosystem. Now that batch function does not complete unless it does an update or insert or merge into both the syncs. And only then it goes and then processes the next batch records. So that way, given this, anytime there's any issue, we know for 100% that you're not going to get any different response. Even if data is delayed 5 minutes, it's still going to be consistent with what the analyst is seeing in either one of these systems. Now, once data is pushed into Teradata, that's where most of the reporting system comes into picture. So we're using Dnode as our virtualization layer that connects to all of these data sets that we have curated. And then using these API layers, we have 2 layers of presentation. One is through our Power Apps ecosystem. You can have the data streamed right into your mobile. You can just log into the app and give the flight number and departure airport and the day that you're looking for. It will then list you all the passengers that are traveling on a particular flight and the wheelchair type that they have and some additional characteristics and where the particular passenger is going. The same thing could be on your desktop. Just go in, enter the particular flight details. The experience is the same thing. It gives you the flight number, the airport, weight information, the dimensions, and everything. And then on the second pipeline, what we have is we're using Cognos to create canned reports or email bursts to various airport managers that can, on a daily basis, see high traffic, especially our major hubs like Dallas, DFW, Charlotte, Miami, Chicago, New York. All of these airport managers get the report, and it's on a daily basis. But the way everything is structured is that once they open up the report, they could always get the updated version of the data just by a single click. What that means now is, so here is a sample version of that particular email. So if you look into the left side, you'll see that there is an option where it says Open Report. The moment you click on it, it just takes you a web interface where you just enter the flight information, and then you can get the updated statistics for that particular flight. And there's a sample report. It just includes every particular passenger arriving from a different airport to the airport that the manager is interested in, and then all the departures from that particular airport to wherever their destination is. Now, using this data, we're actually able to quantify and measure how efficiently we're able to use our wheelchair mover. Whereas previously, you never knew exactly which gate you needed and what time you needed. But at least with this data, you know exactly on gate A10 at 11 p.m., you have 10 passengers that need wheelchair assistance, and you know that the weight of this particular wheelchair. So you can plan and make sure you have the wheelchair mover at that particular gate. Now, the moment everything is loaded, you then can transfer it over to your next destination. Usually, the wheelchairs are loaded at the very end, meaning that if you don't plan, you're always scrambling at the very end. And if you're trying to scramble at the very end, you're expecting your employees to do the heavy lifting and then manually load it. And the more manual effort is there, there's always a higher degree of getting either delayed or damaged. The other challenge is that we have a lot of customers that they make the reservation out in advance, but they don't provide any wheelchair information that they're bringing a particular wheelchair. And that's usually when they come in and they check in their bag or they check in at their main counter, they say, hey, I do have this wheelchair, I'm going to check it in. And it's probably just an hour or 90 minutes before the departure. That's usually when we know exactly that a particular passenger is bringing a wheelchair. Now, using this particular pipeline, since we're running it in real time, the moment the agent enters all of this information in our GDS, that information flows within a fraction of a second to our system, and then we're able to curate the data and then present it in our reports. So that way, if a particular agent or a manager is looking, they now get the updated information probably within 5 minutes after the check-in occurred, and the agent has captured all of the important metrics that they need for that particular wheelchair. Now, here's a impact the moment we started implementing this. Here we have 3 different airports, which are our top 3 hubs. In Dallas, when we implemented earlier this year, we started seeing a really good metric. Now, what these reports are. So the graph that you see is called mishandled bag report, MBR. Now, even though we say it's a bag, in this particular instance, we're talking about wheelchairs. And the way the metric is calculated is the number of wheelchairs either delayed or damaged for every 1,000 enplanements or for every 1,000 wheelchairs that we have transported. And the lower the number, the better it is. Essentially, that means that we're doing a really good job of transporting the wheelchair safely and on time to the customer. Now, when we implemented earlier this year in Dallas, we saw a 30% drop in MBR rate, meaning that the MBR rate started going lower. Similarly, in Charlotte, it was almost a 70% drop. We just implemented that in spring of this year. And then Miami, earlier this year, the same thing, we almost saw a 40% drop in the MBR rate, which is good. But we still have a lot to go. We want to make sure we get the feedback from our frontline agents. We want to make sure the information being provided is as accurate as possible. We also want to make sure that we're not missing any customers and we're not missing any wheelchair requirements because our process may not have everything ironed out. So it's a continuous learning process, and we're doing that. And since everything is in real time, we're able to fix and identify issues quickly as well. Now, what our customers and employees are saying, you can see, our customers are really happy. Some of them have added images, and they're kind of happy on how well we've made progress based on our commitment to them, on how we are safely handling their devices. And even for employees, right, it's a morale booster. You kind of now don't have to go through and wait and see customers waiting for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes just for the device to come, and then you have to go and talk to them and say, hey, it's delayed or it's damaged. Now, they don't have to do that. Rather, they're getting their device on time. They're getting it without damage.